last video in the stash busting sweater series was going to be the end. But as soon as I tried the sweater on, I noticed some really big and problematic details. First of all, there was a problem in the shoulders where it was like puffy and bunchy and not cute and not comfortable. The other problem was the sweater was just awkwardly long. It was like, you know, one of those stretched out extra long sweaters, but not long enough to be a sweater dress. In these situations, it's really easy to get upset and frustrated. I had spent 6 months knitting this sweater and even more time before that spinning the yarn for it. You have really high hopes and you want something that's gonna look great and get you tons of compliments. And when it's disappointing, it's just kind of blah. But when this happens, all is not lost. In this video, I want to talk about sweater surgery. These are little tweaks that you can do to make a sweater fit just right. It might sound drastic, it might sound scary, but it's neither of those things. So come along and I'll show you how. Hi, I'm Pamela from Fibersprite.com, and I help fiber artists understand what they really need to know so they can get down to their real passion, actually working with fiber. Because sweaters typically hang from your shoulders and flow down from there, if there's a problem at the shoulders, that problem is going to extend to other areas that you might not even think about. So I decided to fix my problem at the shoulders first. I cut a single stitch right at the top of the shoulder and then gradually unpicked those stitches around it and put both sets of live stitches onto a pair of double pointed needles. Then from each pair of double pointed needles, I unraveled a couple of rows, making sure to keep track of my stitches, making sure nothing dropped or disappeared. As I unraveled these stitches, I was really careful not to unravel too many at the neck edge or the shoulder edge. I knew this was possible because I had a lot of short rows there, and that was probably what was causing that extra puffiness that I didn't like. But if I had unraveled too many stitches around the shoulder or the neck edges, then I would have had to redo the neckline, ribbing, and maybe even that shoulder seam, and maybe even part of the sleeve. So I wanted to make sure that I could make this fix without having to do 5 other things. If I had needed to do that, it would have been fine, but I was able to do this fix without impacting those areas. Once I had pulled back my stitches as far as I thought I could go, I decided to go ahead and graft them back together. Then I wove the stitches in and made sure on the first shoulder that it was working before I proceeded to try it again on the second shoulder. After I tried it on to make sure that it was the proper fix, I proceeded to repeat the same step on the second shoulder. A quick blast of steam from the iron helped kind of re-block those stitches into place. Next up was fixing the length. I had been having so much fun knitting the sweater that I said, just one more repeat. It'll be fine. It'll be a little long, but it'll be fine. Well, one more repeat was not fine. It was kind of weird, honestly. It wasn't quite enough length to be a sweater dress. It wasn't cute where it hit on my body. It wasn't comfortable where it hit on my body. And when you start knitting longer pieces, you need to account for more shapes in your body. This is a fairly fitted sweater, and so as it traveled over my back and my rear end, it needed more space. So if it was going to travel over those spaces, I would have needed some short rows to account for that. And I hadn't done that in my just one more repeat escapade. I did seriously think about taking off the hem and just knitting to my heart's content, adding short rows where they were needed, and making this thing into a full-fledged sweater dress. It's been a long time since I've had any kind of sweater dress, and I've never knit one for myself, so I thought that would be kind of fun. The thing that stopped me though was that this yarn is merino. And while that would be the coziest sweater dress ever, it wouldn't be the most durable. Merino is known to pill. It doesn't stand up to wear and tear the way that some other wools do. And so if it's something that I'm gonna be sitting in and walking around in, it's gonna be subject to abrasion and it's gonna pill, and it's just not gonna look good for very long. So I decided to instead go with this cropped length that stops right at my hips. And to do that, I proceeded in almost the same way as the shoulder repair. I clipped one stitch and started to unravel the stitches around that and placed them onto a circular needle. The size of the needle doesn't matter quite as much in this scenario because I'm not actually knitting from it, I'm just using it to pick up the stitches. In this case, I actually prefer a needle that's several sizes smaller so that it scoops those stitches up really easily without stretching them out of place. From there, I could have knit the ribbing again, but instead I chose to trim off the existing ribbing that I had already made and graft that onto the existing sweater. Again, I clipped a single stitch, unraveled, and as I was unraveling, carefully transferred each stitch of the ribbing onto a set of circular needles. From there, just miles and miles of grafting. Why do this instead of re-knitting the ribbing? Well, I don't mind grafting, I actually kind of enjoy it, but also because of the way that I had finished the edges with the tubular bind off, there was going to be grafting in my future no matter what. And ribbing is not my favorite stitch to do. So grafting was gonna happen one way or the other. I might as well do it with the thing that I have already done, and that's what I chose to do. And now, finally, after 7 months, I have a cropped and wearable sweater. Of course, it's like 10,000 degrees outside, so it's going back into the closet and waiting for fall. Thank you so much for following along on this journey. I really hope that this series has helped you feel empowered and not afraid to design your own knits, to try things out, to fix. You are the boss of your knitting, and it's supposed to be fun. If you've missed any of the steps of this sweater along the way or want to go back and rewatch anything, I've put everything into a playlist for you. It's going to be listed in the end screen as well as in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.